Ay, 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 ay.
When creating the face, I try once again to make him look like the man himself, but I can only do so much with a nearly 11-year-old character creator. Considering just like before I won't be doing any of the fighting myself, I'm not going to be putting any points into the primarily offensive based special stats. So instead I put 8 points into endurance for health, 9 into intelligence to get as much experience as possible, 10 into charisma for some companion based perks, and finally 10 points in luck because I'll need a lot of money if I want to keep a steady supply of stim packs for Rex. With that in mind, I figured that the smartest skills to tag would be barter, medicine, and speech for the same reasons. Finally, I take good natured for an increase in my non-combat skills and wild wasteland because I pretty much always take that one. Once in control and before heading to find our faithful cyborg companion, I use both my medicine and speech skills to squeeze as many healing supplies as I possibly can out of Doc Mitchell, just in case. By now, most of you probably know this, so I'll not spend much time on it. The path I take to Vegas has me heading east from Good Springs until I mark Hidden Valley on the map, as this is always handy to have later on. And then I go and pass through the Indiana Jones boulder scene, as I have more luck this way than sneaking around the cliffs near Quarry Junction. Rather than head straight to Freeside, I make a quick detour by heading into the Repcon headquarters and taking the tour. This means that I can grab the key to the upper floors and grab the mission plans off of the dead Tin Men. I'll explain why I'm doing this later on when the time comes. From here, the walk to Freeside is as uneventful as ever. Well, except for the game deciding to crash more than usual. Thankfully, it stopped after I reached Freeside, so I won't harp on it too much. For once, when I get to Freeside, I actually bought the strip pass off of Ralph for 500 caps. Figured it would be best to buy it as a precaution just in case I don't have the money when the time comes to enter the strip and gamble my life away. Wasting no time at all, I head straight for Father Elvis and begin getting to work helping him with his problems, as this is required before we can get the Cyberdog. First task is easy enough. He just wants me to investigate this bodyguard called Oris and figure out if there's anything shady going on. Well, turns out there is, and thanks to my below average medicine skills, I deduce that he is a fraud. Usually I would end this quest with a bloodbath as I kill him and his friends, but sadly we don't have Rex yet to rip out their throats, so that's not going to happen. Back to the king, and it's off of my next assignment, and he wants me to investigate some attacks that have been happening in Freeside. Basically, this quest is one big misunderstanding between the king and the NCR, thanks to everyone's favourite idiot Pacer. So, once I get the matter sorted, I get in the good graces with the king, and not only do I get a personal favour from the king, but more importantly, I get access to the quest to recruit our good little cyberboy. After discussing the Robodog's problems with Jolie Farkas at the Old Mormon Fort, we're learning that it's an issue with his brain and that I'll need to take him to Dr. Henry up in Jacobstown. The king of course agrees to send Rex with me, and now I get to see what we're working with. If you remember the Fallout 3 version of this run, then you'll recall that Dogmeat had enough hit points to survive multiple smacks from a Suprian Behemoth and pretty much not feel a thing. Well, Rex is a far cry from those levels of defense unfortunately, as he only has just over 170 hit points for now. So just like I thought, stim packs are probably going to be pretty vital for the success of this run. On the way to Jacobstown, I make sure to sidestep the Cazadors, as that's not a fight I think Rex can win just yet. I've seen how quickly those winged beasts can take down Deathclaws. He does get into his first scuffle a bit later on though when we encounter some giant manti. Each one goes down in a single bite. I know that doesn't sound like much as they are fairly squishy enemies, but it's better than nothing I suppose. Once I get to Jacobstown and meet Henry, he informs me of 3 potential brains I could use for Rex. Each of them gives Rex a different type of buff, so I have to choose wisely as I can only do this once. The Legion Dog's brain increases damage resistance, but it won't be possible for me to get as I'd either have to have Rex kill everyone in the fort, which I doubt would happen, or the other way is to give the dog a worthy death by fighting it one-on-one in the Legion arena, and as I've stated before, I'm not allowed to attack anything in this challenge, so that's also a bust. The second and most worthless dog brain is with Violet, the crazy fiend woman with all the dogs. But all it does is increase Rex's running speed, which isn't all that helpful. All that leaves is Old Lady Gibson's dog Ray down near Novak, who gives a damage increase. Seeing how damage is far more important than speed, I begin to make my way for Old Lady Gibson. The path I take to Novak has Rex going face to face with a colony of fire ants, and just like before, he's able to take all of the bugs down in just one bite. Just watching him murder these ants honestly makes me feel a lot better about the future of this run. Here's hoping the damage increase is significant enough for him to be able to take down tougher foes later on. After Rex has his fair share of ant nectar, he runs along and manages to score his first human kill on a group of vipers who just happen to be close by. I'm not going to let him take all the credit though, as to be fair, the viper with the grenade rifle actually killed the other 2. He only took down her while she was reloading. Arriving at Old Lady Gibson's, and I have to pay an absurd 700 caps just for the dog's brain, as I lack the necessary bartering skills to get it for free. Lucky for me, however, was that those vipers that just killed themselves had a lot of expensive weapons on hand, so I was able to sell them to get more than enough money for the second-hand brain. At least Rex seems happy about it though. With the brain bouncing around in one of my pockets, I return to Dr. Henry, and now Rex can unleash the true power of his bite on his unsuspecting foes. Usually now I would go and confront Benny at the tops, but I figured regardless of who I'm going to side with, I need to make my way to Nels at some point, so I began heading there to get them out of my way now. Rex had a lot of fun murdering some innocent cattle on the way, the little psychopath. Rather than murder all the boomers in cold blood, I figured it's been a while since we cooperated, so I spared the boomers and me and Rex got to work. Everything goes about the same as it usually does, the big difference this time of course being that Rex gets to once again flex his anteating skills when down in the room with the generators. When learning about their history, Rex shows about as much interest as anybody else, so that's good. And once that's done, it's time to raise the bomber. I thought about having Rex test himself against the lake lurks just before he went into the water, but his pathing betrays him and he's nowhere to be found. So I just hurry ahead and raise the ship, and once I return to Nels, he is by my side once more. As I leave, I make sure to grab the second of the Brotherhood holotapes, leaving only the one near Hidden Valley, so while I get that, allow me to explain why I'm doing this. This world is only big enough for one Cesar, so that's why I'm not going to side with the Legion. That leaves the NCR, House, or Yes Man. Now, the likelihood of Rex being able to take out the Brotherhood on his own is fairly slim, so I'll need to side with a faction that doesn't require me to blow up their base. That means it's either another Yes Man playthrough or I side with the NCR, as it is mandatory to take out the Brotherhood when siding with House. Seeing how I've done plenty of Yes Man runs, I figure it's time to put in the legwork and side with the NCR. This means in order for the two factions to strike up a truce, I'll need to do some extra missions for the Brotherhood to get on their good side, and getting these holotapes is the first step in that plan. Despite the fact I have all three tapes, the Brotherhood still aren't happy to see me, so I need to go and deal with Dobson. Not wanting to have Rex arrested for killing a future brother in arms, I instead use my speech skill to convince him to leave, and then it's back to McNamara for my next task. It's honestly fairly similar to the previous task, the major difference being that this time the scouts are actually alive when I reach them. The first one is pretty much just a few feet away from where Dobson was, makes you wonder why they didn't just have him kill the ranger. The next one I decided to check on was to the east near Nelson, which isn't too far from the 188 trading post, so the walk was fairly short. It proved to be pretty dangerous though, as Rex got into a scuffle with some of the cazadors on the way. He put up a surprisingly good fight and even managed to take down a few, but as mentioned before, these flying devils can kill just about anything if they so choose, so Rex goes down and I begin running for the hills. Luckily for me, they have the memory span of a goldfish and forget that I'm here almost immediately, so then I can make my way to the scout with little issue. All that leaves is the scout near Nipton, which has me following the train tracks like a member of the real railroad, while Rex dines on some nearby bark scorpions. After I reach the scout, I decide that because I'm in the area, I may as well go see how Rex fares against the Legion, seeing how he's going to be fighting quite a few of them down the line. Since Volpes and his Legion aren't hostile, I have to steal from his soldiers to incite them to attack, and when he does, he quickly realises just how outclassed he and his men truly are. As you can see from the footage on screen, their weapons barely scratch Rex's body, and he begins effortlessly chewing his way through them one by one. Not even Volpes himself was able to survive more than 2 bites from this mechanical menace. After that's over with, it's back to the bunker once more as I get the final part of this quest, where I need to head to 3 different vaults to find components so I can fix the air filter in the bunker so everyone doesn't suffocate. Considering I've been doing a fair amount of walking around this playthrough, I actually already have fast travel points close to these vaults. First is Vault 11. Not a whole lot to say about this one, just a whole lot of Mantai and rats. Considering Rex has a known issue with rats, according to the king anyway, I just let him run around and do what he pleases while I mosey on down and grab the parts that we need. Judging by the constant experience notifications I was receiving, I'll assume he was having a good time. Next up was Vault 22, which thankfully is just down the street from Jacobstown. One of the more interesting vaults in the series in my opinion. Sure, the enemies are just reskinned tougher versions of the Trogs from Fallout 3's The Pit DLC, but the setting is a lot more interesting. Also, seeing how I have the necessary repair skill to fix the elevator, getting to the part where I need is fairly straightforward. Rex also puts up a decent fight against the spore creatures, probably for the best as when they gang up on me, they knock me into the void. All that leaves is Vault 3, home of the Fiends. Considering the Fiends are weaker than the Legion, it should come as no surprise that Rex gains a few new chew toys when down in the vault. And just like Volpes before him, Motor Runner learns the hard way that a chainsaw is just not going to work on this cyber pooch, and as such he is dealt with swiftly. With the final part in hand, I return to the Brotherhood and complete the quest. I still need to go back and get rid of the mutants at Black Mountain if I want to get my power armor training though. That said, however, I think I'll want to have a high run speed so that I can keep up with Rex and heal him whenever he decides to run off and engage enemies, so it's probably not the best for me to be running around in power armor. Regardless, with that task out of the way for the Brotherhood, I think it's high time I made my way to the strip and got the ball rolling on the main story. Before heading to see Benny, I decided to let Rex have about as much fun as I usually do in Gomorrah with the O'Murders. I don't really feel like running to the fort to get the chip, so once again I decided to let Rex off his lead and see what kind of chaos he can unleash in the tops. As you can imagine, letting a bloodthirsty robot dog loose in the casino is not good for the well-being of its patrons or staff. I will say though, Benny really doesn't seem too fazed by everything that's going on. After the last of the chairmen are dead however, I confront Benny as it looks like he's trying to leave and get him to engage me in a fight. To my surprise, he actually manages to put Rex down. Granted, it's only temporary as I use the old walk out through a door technique, and that perks Rex's spirits right back up and he gnaws on Benny's ankles until he just can't take it anymore. Now that I had the chip, it was probably the best time to deal with House, but seeing how I've already taken down 2 casinos, what's one more? Nothing all too much to say here. If the bouncers with guns couldn't take down Johnny Silverdog, what hope do the men with walking sticks have? Okay, with nothing else to sidetrack me, I make my way to the Lucky 38, actually remembered to sell my snow globes for once, and then proceeded to break into House's bedroom and give him a rude awakening. Seeing how companions aren't allowed to get up to this part of the Lucky 38, I'm left with no choice but to just disable House's connection rather than kill him like usual. Not to worry though, I'll make sure to club his head in extra good next time. With House out of the way, I make my way to the NCR embassy on the strip and begin getting to work for the military. First up is get the aid of the boomers. Well, I already did that, so 1 round trip to Pearl to enlist her for service and it's on to the next task. This is where I'm tasked with helping the NCR stop the violence on Freeside by assassinating Pacer. Somehow I can't see Rex being happy with me attacking and killing his owner's friends, so this is where I make good use of that favour that the king owed me by asking him to stop the violence, and he agrees. Well, that was easy. That's all the work Ambassador Crocker has for me, so that means it's off to Hoover Dam for the big boy missions. Well, I know for a fact that the first assignment they have for me is to eradicate the cans, so I'm going to get ahead of the curve by heading to Red Rock and snuff them out now. On the way to make the Red Rock redder, me, Rex, and the NCR radio guy who's been following me for a while now engage Cook and his fiends. Rex decided to play with his food as he just ragdolled Cook around a bit before deciding to kill him. Seeing how she is also in the area, I decided to see who was a better dog trainer by pitting Rex against Violet and her hounds. They may have outnumbered him, but as we're all aware by now, Rex put all his points into strength and just chomped his way through every last one of them, including Violetta and Violet. Excellent. Another dog brain to carry around. When I arrive at the canyon, I begin stealing food and alcohol from the cans to anger them to the point of attacking me, which of course is a gateway straight to death given the hellhound that is trapped in the room with them. Back out in the actual canyon, and it doesn't take long for Rex to run down the last few surviving cans. So, with a genocide well done, it was time to head for Hoover Dam. The trip is fairly uneventful, other than New Vegas enraging me with its horribly placed invisible barriers as per usual. When I meet up with Colonel Moore, I inform her of what has already happened to the cans, the Omertas, and Mr. House, and then she tries to make me go exterminate the Brotherhood. Obviously, I didn't do all that extra work earlier for nothing, so I return to McNamara and inform him of the situation, and he immediately tells me to strike up a truce with the NCR, and that he will support us at the Battle of Hoover Dam. The Colonel doesn't seem all too thrilled by the idea, but she also doesn't object to it, so with that, this part of the quest is complete, and it's time to be a bodyguard for a day. Seeing how I managed to foil the entire assassination attempt by checking this one man's pockets, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about here. I didn't even have to deal with the sniper, as the nearby rangers dealt with him immediately. So, with that underwhelming activity out of the way, it's on to defending the dam itself. Fighting through the interior of the dam has never been so easy thanks to the added support of the Brotherhood of Steel. Rex also gets to flex his muscles on the Legion by taking out waves of them all by himself. I would like to point out I also once again glitched through the wall. When we get topside, Rex's jaws of steel rip apart any legionary unfortunate enough to even think about petting the dog. Entering the Legate's camp, and I had my stimpaks ready as I feared for the worst. But truth be told, it wasn't all that bad. Considering that the Praetorians with the ballistic fists needed to get right up in his face to hit him, Rex would usually either knock them down or just straight up maul them before they got a chance to do any real damage to him. I got an interesting glitch when I went to fight the Legate, in that when the 2 NCR soldiers jumped down to fight him, I was able to run up and past where he normally stands as he went to kill them. Usually, you can't do this, as the Legate will engage in dialogue with you whenever you're anywhere near him. So, I took this opportunity to have Rex kill the 2 guards nearby. This whole time, I had planned to have the Legate and Rex fight one-on-one, but in doing this, I wanted to see if this would make a difference, and maybe Rex would be able to get the upper hand and take down all of the Legion. It went well at first, as he was able to get the Legate down to the point where he'd run off and start the second phase of the fight with the reinforcements, but at this point, the number of enemies were just too great for little Rex and he gets knocked out. I tried this quite a few times and it always ended in the same way. So I loaded back and had the fight commence, and to say it was pretty one-sided is an understatement. To be fair, Lanius probably would have killed him fairly easily if he actually decided to attack Rex, but he never did and instead was dead set on making sure that I died first. So, after about 2 minutes of snapping at his ankles, the Legate falls to the ground dead. Of course, as congratulations for a job well done, I allow Rex to have the Legate's sword and helmet as new toys to play with. From here, I approach the gate, get thanked by Oliver, ending the game and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout New Vegas, as Cesar Millan. While this wasn't as easy as it was in Fallout 3, it was still pretty fun. Plus, it felt right to give Rex some time in the spotlight after all the other companions showed up in the group video. Regardless, that's going to be the end of this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving the video a like, and if you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe to try to have one of these videos every week. My name's Nerbit, stay safe everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.